Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Ace and I've got more TF2 commentary, or actually a update I should say. Because if you have been paying attention to your update, you should know that TF2 has been updated for promo items and some other stuff. But I'll be covering the promo items, including the 3 Miscs, the 1 hat, and the 4 new weapons, including the Sapper and an overpowered minigun for the for the heavy, of course, but nonetheless, we'll start off at the beginning, because if you are looking for the gameplay, timecode in the description box below, and as you can definitely tell, these promo items are in a Chinese style, I suppose, especially when you look at the tattoo, the dragon tattoo and such, and it's pretty badass. Also, the most expensive items separately. And these promo items come from a game called Sleeping Dogs, which I believe is a Chinese mafia game. Don't quote me on that, but it's definitely in that specific genre. And if you just want to buy the bundle, which is called the Triad Bundle, you have to spend 16 euros, basically 15 euros 99, depending on your own currency and the inflation or whatever with that. Because Steam tends to be a little bit weird when it comes down to different currencies. Nonetheless, I will be showing you guys how they look, because if you look in the Scout, it looks pretty badass. I think that the Scout looks the most, at least gets the most out of it, because not only do you see both arms clearly, with of course the tattoos, you also get these little wristbands, as you can definitely tell, which is kind of awesome. You can't paint them, or can I paint them? Yes, you can definitely paint the tattoos as well, which is definitely awesome, but they don't change depending on your team. The Sniper has them as well. But of course, he doesn't get as much out of the tattoo itself. It's also a bit lower, but nonetheless, you can still paint it. And he still has the bracelets. The Heavy has them as well. Clearly, looks pretty badass and heavy. Especially if you get the shirt with it, because that just adds to the entire style, which just makes it look a little bit too much of the good, if you understand what I mean. And of course, the Engineer, surprisingly enough, which only shows on one side, because the other side is of course covered by the glove. So pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. Once again, it doesn't change depending on what team you are. So it's to be expected that the champ stamp will be one of the most requested items, therefore also the most expensive. But if you are not into the tattoos, or you want to finish the look, you can actually get the shirt with it. And as you can see, paint does not really do much to it. And team color does, of course. And it basically allows you to have that shirt, the typical gangster-ish shirt, with of course the additional chains around your neck, as you can clearly tell, as the Heavy here has. And the fun part is, you can actually see the Heavy having chest hair. And I believe it's the only class where you can definitely tell that he has chest hair, because the other classes, it doesn't really show up as good. Especially with the Scout, of course. It's surprisingly enough that the Scout actually has the option to have chest hair, but that's a discussion for another time. Of course, the Spy, of course, as well, but it doesn't look too much like chest hair, even it just looks like a shadow. And the Engineer, same deal. So, if you really want to finish off the style, you can do that. And once again, it's only affected by, of course, the team color. I'm not sure if you can actually paint it or not. Unless you can paint your chest hair, but that would just look silly. Of course, the head as well, which is pretty much for, I believe, every single class in the game. And it's just a cannonball. We have seen this this model before. Nothing too out of the ordinary. So, there you go. Nothing too special. You can, of course, paint it, or actually change the style on it, which actually allows you to have that. I believe it's a dragon. I can't really tell, but it looks like something that resembles a dragon from a distance. So you can have that on top of that cannonball. But if you really want to still have it, personally, I don't really like the model of the hat itself. I think it's a little bit too plain, even with the tattoo. But nonetheless, if you are into that, you can actually pick it up and change your styles as well, burn or override, depending on what you prefer. There are a lot of options available, so that is pretty awesome, but you have to like it. And of course, the weirdest thing ever, which actually clips with a lot of things because of the eyebrows. As you can already tell, it clips with the Scout hat, and everybody that wears a hat, it pretty much clips with. Nonetheless, you can actually paint it, successfully. It's not affected by team color, but you can also, I believe, change the style of it to have a cigar or no cigar, which apparently is not really showing up on the scout. So it might be a bit bugged, or I'm just not looking at it right, because it might be hidden behind an ear or something, because that's something typical for that style. But nonetheless, you can pretty much see where this is going. It clips again with this sniper hat. With the soldier hat, it definitely clips. I think this is the worst clip that it has, but of course you cannot see the cigar anywhere, so that might be bugged. Nonetheless, you can paint it. The demo man can have it. There's no clip for the demo man, of course, at least not with his basic, his default hat. So that's pretty cool. The medic as well, which just makes him look even more silly. And let's see if there are cigars in the ears. Nope, nothing. Of course, the Pyro has it as well, and the spy. I think it's a fun parody on the spy items, of course, but there you go. And this pretty much sums that up. I think it's time for gameplay and the weapons. Let's talk a little bit about the weapons though before we go into the actual gameplay. Just to give you guys an idea of what they actually do. The red tape recorder, which is the new sapper, which instead of destroying the enemy with the sapper damage, it actually reverses enemy building construction. So definitely a change there. I'm still a big fan of the original sapper. And then again, you have to take that with a grain of salt because I'm not a fan of the spy class. The Neon Annihilator, completely useless, and I will talk about that in the gameplay section, but you can definitely tell why it would be useless in addition to, or in comparison to every single other weapon available to the Pyro, unless for some reason you are playing in a water level. Then this melee weapon would be perfect. The Yulong Heatmaker, pretty much a little bit overpowered. I will go into that as well, because you can see it sustains a ring of flames while you are deployed. And it doesn't give you a damage penalty. It only allows you to, it forces you to consume 6 ammo while you're deployed. So even if you're not shooting, you are consuming ammo because of that ring of fire. That's the only downside to it. But I'm not sure about you guys, but I never really stay deployed that long if I don't have anyone to shoot. The Flying Guillotine, which is actually a very fun weapon to play around with, because it's basically a rep assassin on steroids. It allows you to do bleed damage as a secondary. It's not a melee weapon, it's a secondary. It allows you to do mini crits from a long distance. So if you can get those hits off, an example for on a long distance choke point, for example on Badlands, which I did, pretty awesome. And also 100% critical hit versus stunned players, so you can perhaps combine this with the Sandman. So very potent combination there if you want to do that. And otherwise it's just very fun to throw knives around, I'm not gonna lie. So these are the items. Check them out. Check out Sleeping Dogs if you want to pre-order the game to get everything with this, or get these things in addition to that game. But let's just go into the gameplay. So we have the spy here, and the spy of course getting the red tape recorder. And it pretty much is the same deal. It looks a little bit different, of course, the model of the sapper, which is to be expected, as well as the way it handles. It doesn't destroy the building per se, but it slowly degrades it till the toolbox again. So in a way, it does kill it. It's the way it does the killing is just degrading it over time, all the way back to the toolbox, as you can see right there. And it pretty much just works the same. There's no extreme benefit to it. There's no specialty or weakness to it, to my knowledge. It just slowly degrades the building from fully built to not built at all. Basically like a sapper, but then the sapper destroys it. And here we have the scout. Now, like I said, this specific secondary, it's not a primary, it's a secondary, pretty much is a rap assassin on steroids. It is pretty fun to play around with. It is a little bit different based on the projectile, as well as if you throw it on a long enough distance, you actually start doing mini crits. And if you use the Sandman or have another stun effect on the enemy, you can actually do a full crit with it. As you can see, 40 damage initially and then the 4 bleeding damage constantly, which is kind of a nice thing to do, because people tend to freak out when they start bleeding. And now if they especially get the mini crit to start off with, they really start to freak out. And if you really get good with this specific secondary, you can definitely do some fun things with it. But if it's really reliable and worth it, I don't think so. I still think that the pocket pistol or the regular pistol or the Mad Milk even are a little bit more reliable. Anyway, we have the Pyro here with the neon sign, which does of course more damage when the target is wet. This is a bit different and a little bit awkward, because unless you are playing on a specific map where water is available quite a bit, people won't end up being wet. Even if you extinguish people, they usually get extinguished because they pick up health, or they get healed, or somebody's air blasting them, etc, etc. They never really end up wet. And if you do play on a map, the times that you actually find a target that is wet is not really that viable. So you have to air blast them into the water, dive after them, and then hit them with the neon sign to get the crit. So if it's really reliable to kill people with, I don't think so. I still think the extinguisher or even the power jack are a lot more reliable and a lot more valuable in a broader sense than playing with this specific weapon on a map where people might get wet. Unless you're playing on a custom map where everybody is underwater, then definitely use this sign. Definitely a lot of fun then, but otherwise just stick with the extinguisher or the postal pummeler when you could scream hot mill. That is my recommendation, but I do think that the fact that they get electrocuted is kind of a nice detail. But last but not least, the heavy. As you can see, ring of fire around me. This is, I think, the most powerful weapon of this specific update, because not only do you get a very amazing looking minigun that doesn't get a penalty based on damage, but based on ammo consumption, because when you are starting to deploy yourself, basically spin up your minigun, you start to have a ring of fire around you. As you can see right here, there's a ring of fire around me when I start shooting, when I deploy, and it has the ability to burn people. Imagine how annoying that would be for spies or for people that are trying to go after you with a melee attack, that they get more damage or just blow up their entire cover because they get fire. And the only penalty you have is a small ammo penalty, because you consume a little bit more ammo, but that's never been a problem for me anyway, to have not enough ammo on my minigun, unless I'm just spraying and praying. So really powerful, this weapon, a lot of fun, but I think it will definitely be either nerfed or banned, because if you just think about it, it is silly. Anyway, make sure to check out my new series, I'll put a link for that below as well, and make sure to subscribe for more content, and I will catch you guys next time.